All right, everybody. Welcome back to our 19th session of Rav Kook Yomi. So happy to be with you here. Shabbat Shalom. I'm excited to begin Shabbat, but let's learn some Rav Kook beforehand and connect into Eretz Israel and his beautiful Torah. So we're in the war section still. We've got definitely still a good amount left. We're in the 6th chapter of the section on war. And he begins. Kol ha'amim mitfatchim v'yotzim el ha'poel al yedei tnuotayim ativiot. He says that all of the nations of the world, all the peoples of the world, open up. They manifest themselves by way of their own natural movements, by the way of their own natural ways of being in the world, right? So Rav Kook certainly thinks that, just by people manifesting themselves and doing the normal things they do, they're able to manifest themselves in a special way in the world. That each nation has special characteristics and a special way of being in the world. And by them just going about life and doing what they need to do, they're able to manifest who they are. And in doing so, obviously, their qualities go from being in potential to in kinetic, right? They are able to become sort of a thought or an idea, and in their crystallization process of actually doing those things and manifesting themselves in the real world, the qualities themselves expand because they're more expressed in a full way because they're actually expressed in the real world. I think we can certainly point to Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel, and the manifestation of the Jewish people as a nation, and this idea of the Jewish people really manifesting their fullness of who they are by working as a nation together and going about their lives as a nation, right? That able to, just as it does with every other nation, it also does with us. And many Zionist thinkers thought that the Jewish people in Galut were sort of like a closed box, right? They had these beautiful ideas, but they weren't really able to manifest themselves. They weren't really able to expand. And once the Jewish people returns their land and returns to the state of Israel, they are more able to fully expand on who they are and bring their natural characteristics into the world in a beautiful way. So very, very important. And I think very beautiful, true. That was actually the theory of Achad Ha'am, one of the early Zionist thinkers that Rav Kook is expanding on and sort of interpreting through a spiritual and divine way.
Okay, cool.
And he continues on, and he says, Hamilchamot ma'amikot et erech amiyuchad shel kol ha'am. And then he goes on, and of course, he's talking about war because of this section on war. He says, war, what it does is it depthens the special characteristic or special value that people brings into the world. It sharpens it. It brings it into the world in a more manifest way. Achemit baletet suratov yotzeit el hapoel b'hagmara b'chol prate amkeha. So much so that it nullifies its former self, and it expands, and it becomes almost something new, something able to achieve the fullness of what it's supposed to be as a nation. And this is a sort of a popular concept in the early 20th century that each nation, each group of people should have their nation, and by having their nation, they're able to fully expand who they are in the world and fully manifest their special characteristics they have. That each nation has these special characteristics that they have to offer to the world, and they can't offer it unless they manifest themselves as a nation. This really is part and parcel of why nationalism was such a big deal in the early 20th century. I think now we look back at it and see the darkness of nationalism. But back then, nationalism was something that is very much seen as a positive thing because it manifests the special qualities in which each nation has. And what she's saying here, when a nation is forced to fight for their ideals and sort of put and really actually put their lives on the line for what they believe in, they're actually able to manifest their ideals in a more real and sharp and serious way. Right? They really become who they're supposed to be in a very real way, of course, expanding who they are. And also, of course, war and fighting for one's ideals changes who we are. I think we see that clearly with Eretz Yisrael. Every war is a great tragedy, but the wars that the Jewish people have fought have really, in the state of Israel, have really defined them, have really enabled them to manifest their personal characteristics in the world in a much sharper way, right? Obviously, if the Jewish people aren't going to stand up and fight and just kind of let people trample all over them, their image and their characteristics will be diminished, and they won't be able to offer into the world. But when they choose to fight and sacrifice for those ideals are more fully manifest within the world. He continues on. Yisrael hu ha'aspeklaria ha'klalit shel kol ha'olam. Israel is the looking glass, the general looking glass of the entire world. Now, this is a very interesting concept. I think what he's saying here is that by way of the Jewish people, we could kind of and the status of the Jewish people and the way they're able to manifest their characteristics in the world, they're kind of like a canary in the coal mine, right? That you see sort of what actually happens
It's true.
by what's going on with the Jewish people. And very, very important here. And so you're able to see a lot of the characteristics of the different nations and the fullness of the world around you by looking at the Jewish people.
I'm so hungry too.
Famous a little bit more in just a moment. So he goes on and he says, "V'kol zman sheyesh im ba'olam shelo yatzu el hapoel hagamor b'chol tachsisav yesh kahut le'umat zeb or asafug shel Knesset Israel." Right? And he's really talking about other nations right now. He says that at all times in which other nations don't fully manifest who they are in the real world and in all of their different ways and different medias, there actually is then caused a dullness in
what way?
A dullness in the manifestation in the real world of the Jewish people, right? Our national characteristics and our way of being in the world is sort of dulled. Why? Because the other nations of the world are not manifesting themselves fully. And so you can kind of see the health of all the world
So kind of
by how the Jewish people are able to fully manifest themselves in all of their different ways. And this is what he means here by Israel's the Espeklaria Klalit.
Oh, I know.
This general looking,
Yet.
right? To look in this. So very, very interesting what he's saying. And I think you can easily kind of read Rav Kook and say, well, really what Rav Kook cares about is the Jewish people and their manifestation themselves, and the non-Jews sort of have these negative qualities. But here I think we clearly see that for the revelation of the special characteristics of the Jewish people, it's very much dependent upon and linked to the revelation and the clarification and the manifestation of the other nations of the world as well. The Jewish people are connected very much to the other nations of the world, and we all depend on each other for our communal redemptions, which is really important. So on the one hand, Rav Kook is sort of particularistic, but on the other hand, Rav Kook is also very universalistic, and that there's the universal within the particulars. In order for our special qualities to manifest in the world, which is obviously particularistic, that we have these special qualities to manifest, and so does each nation have these special qualities. It is dependent upon our relation on the other nations manifesting themselves as well, which is really, really interesting. And again, it's an argument for nationalism. It's an argument why we should create a world where of secure nation states that are able to fully manifest their culture in a real way within the world. The He therefore says that all of the time in which nations are irritating each other and fighting with each other and arguing with each other, they're able, by doing so, bringing the fullness of of what those nations are into the world, right? Because they're able to fully manifest themselves when they fight, because they have to fight for their ideals. And in doing so, Mamela Yulad Koach Hashlama B'Knesset Israel. And in any case, when this happens, is brought forth sort of a fullness or a full manifestation of Knesset Israel in the world of the Jewish people, right? Because as he said before, if other nations fully manifest themselves and are doing so by war and fighting for what they believe in, right? In that way, the Jewish people as an expectaria klalit, as like the general looking glass, are also made more vibrant and more manifest and more real. So the Jewish people are very dependent upon and the manifestation of all of the nations of the world in their special qualities, right? Because the reason for their special qualities is to offer those special qualities to the world around them, right? We need everyone to manifest their special qualities because that's how those qualities and those things are brought into the world. So very, very important. It continues, Vehi mitzapeh raglo shel Mashiach she'yavo v'yofia b'mehira b'yameinu. And this is the way we look out and we gaze upon the coming of the Messiah. May he come speedily in our days, and may he appear speedily in our days. Right? So he then really, I think, takes a beautiful step here and says, this is what it looks like to await the coming of the Mashiach. Right? The coming of the Mashiach is not just the manifestation of the Jewish people, but it is the manifestation of all of the nations of the world and their special qualities, which of course is shown by the manifestation of the Jewish people, because they are the speklaria klalit, according to Rav Kook, right? But what he's doing is in this beautiful way connecting the redemption of the Jewish people and the eventual Messiah coming and the full manifestation of the Jewish nation as Lechet Kohanim, as a Goy Kadosh, as a holy people, nation of priests, right? As the product truly of every other nation manifesting themselves in their unique way, and really believing in who they are. That we don't need other nations to believe in who we are, right? But rather they need to believe in themselves and fight for themselves. And that's why, for me, when I very much believe and support the Jewish people and fight for the Jewish people all the time. And I really, really, I think someone could look at me and say, well, you're being very particularistic. All you care about is your family. All you care about is the Jewish people. Do you care about anybody else? Of course I do. But I think every other nation needs to care for their people in the same way, right? And in doing so, we can all bring our special qualities of our people into the world to help the whole entire world and make it better altogether. As Jews, we are dependent, truly dependent on other nations manifesting themselves. This is important. So I think Rav Kook does almost an impossible task of locating his particularism and his pride in the Jewish people and in their special qualities they can bring into the world, and locating it within a realm of interaction and relationship with the rest of the world and the manifestation of their special qualities as well, which is a beautiful way to mix both the particularism and universalism within Judaism together in this really beautiful way. And also, again, a wonderful way to look for the Mashiach, right? The Mashiach and the redemption of the Mashiach is the manifestation of all of the nations of the world and their special characteristics in fullness. If that happens and each nation is able to be who they really are in the best possible way, right? And in the actual real world, that's when the Mashiach will come, and that's when the Jewish people will be fully redeemed, which is why as Jews, we really have to care not just about Jews, but about everybody, right? And help every nation fully manifest themselves. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. We'll head on to the seventh teaching from Milchama on Orot on Tuesday, hopefully, if God helps us to come to that moment. All right. Thank you, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.